Welcome to the Funky Intellect Podcast, where I explore life topics through ridiculousness and real talk. Join me every week for conversations that make you think and music suggestions that make you move. All right, everybody, welcome back to the podcast, The Funky Intellect. I have my good friend here, Kia. My. I have known this person for a very easy. Okay, easy on the bed. All right. We're a long time, okay? I almost want to be real country and say, since you was knee-high to the grasshopper, but I ain't known you that long. You know I'm bad with time. Anyway, I have Kia here, and we're going to talk about something that she is super qualified for. If I need a prayer through, it'll probably be my mama and then Kia next. We're talking about God. We're talking about gays, being gay, and the confusion of people thinking you have to choose both, or you just abandon your beliefs if you were brought up a specific way, etc. Welcome to the Funky Intellect.
Thank you. Super excited to be here. Great opportunity, amazing topic, and I just enjoy conversation with you, period. And I think that this is a conversation that we are, and I say we collectively across the diaspora, across the culture, across the board are finally starting to have, because y'all tripping, and that's what it is.
Yeah, I a lot of times I sit back and I look at what people think is supposed to happen with a lot of stuff, but specifically with this, the expectation of how people are supposed to act, how people are supposed to look, the beliefs that the beliefs that they are holding on to, letting go. It just don't make sense. A lot of times I'm looking at a lot of stuff. Make it make sense. Somebody's
make sense.
Because why are we doing this?
Yeah.
So I appreciate you for being here, and I also appreciate you for mentioning just across the diaspora, as you mentioned. My first note was Black people. It literally said Black people. Okay, I don't know nothing else, right? But I know that being Southern,
because Texas is the South. Let it be known.
It's like we our own thing, but also don't get it twisted. Also the South, Southern, Baptist, Black, gay, and spiritual. I feel like there's so much wrapped up in that, and I wanted to talk about first what comes with being gay and Black in church, which that probably is a whole nother part. But to get started, my experience of listening to pastors or teachers or preachers and all that other stuff say, okay, you can't be gay. Everybody going to hell. It is what it is. Do not pass, go collect $100. That has been my experience. It was my experience up until maybe, I don't know, college, when I found a different church. So I'm going to ask you, because I feel like you may have had a similar experience, but you have been to various types of churches. And so tell me your experience with that.
So my experience is different because I did not grow up in the church, unlike you. So I didn't accept Jesus as my personal Lord and Savior until I was like 19. I didn't grow up in the church. Sundays were for big breakfast. It wasn't for service. It wasn't for church. And like I seen it and I was aware of it, but I wasn't a church kid, a church girl. Like when I did, I was of age, and it was a conscious decision. And it was, that conversation was just kind of understood. I didn't necessarily hear from the various churches that I went to. I didn't necessarily hear fire and brimstone, but you could smell smoke. It wasn't coming from the pulpit.
Yeah.
I do recall one time going to a church, visiting, And it was an old school church, gravel parking lot, Cadillacs everywhere.
I bet it was hot. But
No, what?
Yeah, it was
That
hot.
man with Martin Luther King on it. You know it was. And I was visiting because I wanted to go to church. I had to be in college, probably a freshman. And I went with my friend at the time, who is gay. And I remember the preacher started preaching, and whatever he was talking about, old schools, whatever he was talking about, and somehow or another, he started alluding to gay men. And he was like, what it look like if me and Deacon such hold hands. And I felt horrible.
Man.
I felt horrible. I felt horrible for myself. I felt horrible for my friend because he was talking about gay men in particular. And just went on this whole rant. And when I tell you, the whole church is cracking up, laughing at the thought, the concept of, these men acting like women. And
that's tough.
And I remember on that day making a decision to walk out. And I will walk out. Matter of fact, I was at a church on Sunday that I was visiting. I haven't been to church, a traditional church, in months and Sundays, as they say. And I went and I saw one thing on the website, but I know who got up and was on the screen. It was actually a place where it was a part of a larger group, and so they watch church on a screen, like pastor or whoever, the preacher wasn't even there. The screen came down.
Yeah.
And then when I saw old boy on the screen, I seen him on the website. And if I may not have gone, and I seen
he wasn't on the brochure.
Because I looked. And so when he started praising, I'm looking at just the swagger, and I'm, in my head, I already packed up. I'm in the parking lot. But I'm looking out.
You trying to decide where to go eat. Where's brunch?
It wasn't what I thought, and so I'm glad I didn't. But I say that to say, we have to protect our space. We have to protect our space mentally, emotionally, and leave. Like, I'm not entertaining that foolishness. Like, if that's what you believe, that's cool, and I respect you, but I also respect me. And so I say that so going back to your original question, that hasn't been my experience. I've been very fortunate that I haven't seen or heard that. And on the rare occasions that I have, I was able to exit.
Okay, I'm with that. So I want people to realize the different perspectives. Like, you weren't raised in the church. You got in, on your own accord. Me, raised in the church, preacher's kid. And I just been out here seeing stuff, looking at stuff like, I don't like it. I'ma go do something else. But the overall theme of this is, we know how gay people are perceived, and every scripture folks want to use, even if they don't use the scripture, to your point, the preacher, if he just going off on a tangent talking about what I look like, black people love to say what they look like.
That's what it was. That's what it is.
So within that, finding spirituality and finding like what you believe, etc. I think a lot of times people think it's abandoned altogether. And from my experience, I have never met a person that has abandoned their beliefs altogether just because they love the same sex or would like to date the same sex, etc. I had met a lot of people who about to fight it tooth and nail and be, like unhappy and stuff like that. But the bigger picture is, I haven't met anybody that abandons it. So I wonder why the perception is that all of a sudden, if I want to hold a woman's hand, I done forgot, like where I done came from. I'm obviously everything under the sun. I mean, they call gay folk pedophiles, all type of things. So I wonder, how do people begin to find their spirituality and come back from ridicule and not being taken serious and questioning stuff, etc. And so if we're not abandoning it, how do we find it? How do we sort through what's good, what's bad for us? To your point, keeping that space safe. Because I think this and I want your opinion, but I'm gonna say this last thing. I think that finding yourself spiritually is already a vulnerable place to be.
Yeah.
So dump society on top of that. And then religion, which is different from spirituality.
Yes, it is.
And then
we so churchy preach.
Oh, amen. Okay. Say that. So then it's like, dang, you already in a wild place. What do you do? How do you find it? And then we'll talk about how maybe to protect it. Since there's this confusion of I'm gay now, so I just don't believe none of that. I'm going against the full-blown grain, period. Like, they make it seem like at some point, if you're gay, you just slamming the door in your granny's face. Like, or just, being like, be little cats. Or just, it's like, why would you do that?
You joining the occult, you got lamb's blood and you doing all kind of sacrifices.
You went to find all of the bad things and was like, that I've been looking for you. And it's just crazy to me what people make up. So let's talk about maybe how you find your way spiritually. And how have you found your way spiritually?
I think it is very much a personal journey. Yeah. Emphasis on the word journey.
Yeah.
I think, and to even what you were saying, like, I've met people, matter of fact, I knew someone who, she was a preacher's kid, and
out here,
she knew she had these feelings. Like, she knew what she was feeling and what she was seeing and what she was thinking. But the pressure of her role and her circle, she went on, got married, had kids, and was miserable. Absolutely miserable. And she was sharing with me how when she did decide to be true to herself, that she, and I remember I felt so sad, that she believed, she came to terms with just reconciling, I'm going to hell. That's what
is deep.
It was what she was eyes wide open choosing, based on her upbringing, based on everything. She was like, I know what they say, and I know what I've been taught, but I also know what I'm feeling. And so she just, and I remember I felt so sad when she was sharing that with me. She's since in a different place, hence the word journey. But I remember when she was sharing that with me, because she just reconciled that she was going to hell. Like, this was her fate. But I thought that spoke volumes simultaneously, that she was willing to reconcile that, because
that's
I can't not be who I am.
That's deep. When you just like, you know what? Because it's so real. You just like, I can't get in with that. So it's real. It's a thing. You touch fire, you go get burned. It's real like that. And so, all right, I'm just going to hell now, and I'll deal with hell when I get there.
Like, real talk. That's exactly. She's not the only one that I've met who thought like that. So she was one, and then I was involved with someone that was not raised in the church, but didn't think that she could have a relationship with God because of how she was. When we got together, it was me saying, I don't know about you, but over here,
that's about we good. I mean, we down like 4 flats. If it's up, then it's stuck. Ain't that what
you understand?
You understand? Yeah.
So it's crazy, because through me, she recognized that it wasn't either or, but that we really do serve a God of and. She didn't even open that door. She didn't even explore it because she just assumed it's not for me. I don't qualify. And so I keep going to that word journey because there's so many influences. Like, it depends on your circle. It depends on what that self-talk is like.
Mm-hmm.
Because you could be in a space today that's telling you this and this, but if, oh boy up here, it's telling you something contrary, and that's what's inbred in you, that's what's ingrained in you, that's what you've been hearing since childhood, that's what you see and saying, smelling, like that's all. It's going to take a paradigm shift. It's going to take like some real work for you to start believing else. You were talking about the scriptures that they used to justify, scripture was used to justify enslavement.
Yeah, a lot of stuff.
A
lot.
Recognizing that
at this point, nobody should be having crawfish boils, snow crabs, motherfucking shrimp. None of that.
Don't let us be on our cycle. You supposed to like slay a ox or something like. Okay. But then even going back to the infallibility, and it's so interesting because being this age and getting older and the access we have to information, recognizing y'all niggas wrong. This interpretation was wrong.
Yeah.
But that was the authority. And so they said, this is what it is. And so we assume that's what it is. And so now on this side, recognizing, wait a minute, I don't mean that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
My sister and I talk about all the time. Just today, we were talking about how, case in point, we've been calling these people Indians, Native Americans. Christopher Columbus got lost. And because he got lost and committed to the loss and the lie, we, hundreds of years later, still calling these people. Because we were talking about sitting crisscross applesauce and just not even thinking. I was saying, the kids were sitting Indian style. Wait, that's not right. Like, but I have to unlearn that.
You do. It's a process. It's a journey. It's a journey.
It's a journey.
So you said, no, that's fine. You said something interesting too, though. It's like, who's the authority now? To me, you said they were the authority before. So then it makes me think, who is the authority now? And if I ask that to myself, it's me.
Yes,
I am the authority. I make the rules. We high five.
High five. Man, that's good, girl. Yes.
I make the rules. I decide what's going to be sacrificed, what all of the things.
Yeah.
And
the buck stops there.
One thing for me, I've realized is that one of my saving graces was moving out of the city I was raised in. Because the people that I met, first of all, I was so naive. I came to Houston and was like, Black people are Catholic. Blew my mind. Okay. I don't know why. I just don't think I was thinking. I just don't think I was thinking at all. But of course, we got the Louisiana situation, right? So, okay. So the people that I met when I moved here opened my eyes to ideas of, one, who's in charge, what's really right.
Yeah.
You mean to tell me, like my homeboy, who he's a good fella, doesn't do anything, he happens to be Hindu, you know what I'm saying? And it's all good, but like he not heaven bound or he's hell bound. It just made me start questioning a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
And trying to, take your little steps on your journey. I think that one, awareness is the first part of the journey, but then really looking at other religions, spiritual practices, all that other stuff to figure out what's helpful to you what makes sense to you, like, and really be tapped in. I was talking to a friend about trusting yourself the other day, and her main takeaway was basically just be tapped in with yourself to know what feels good, what don't feel good, just on a spiritual level. Does it give you anxiety, all that other stuff? And so I feel like on this journey of confusion, and it's crazy because when I wrote the title of this, I was thinking confusion on the outside, folks that ain't gay, not in the community, nothing like that. When you mentioned the person that you dated and the young lady who just decided F and she going to hell, that confusion never crossed my mind, because I guess because I was over my confusion. I am over my confusion. And so you just said that, and I was like, wait a minute, there is confusion on the other side. My intention was to discuss a one-sided situation, but now that we have both in the journey, it's like, okay, how do you take the journey? What do you need to look at? The awareness of it, who you come in contact with, and how they operate, and what really works for you, and trying to figure out what you believe. Tell me about anything you've adopted from other cultures, other religions. And it could be nothing, it could be something, but I know there are a lot of things that I feel like are right in other religions. And I won't say that they're wrong just because it's another religion.
I don't disagree. I don't like we have no copyright on this thing. Like I don't disagree. And I think it goes back to the point you were making about authority. Like, so as you know, I'm 5'1" in real life, but I'm 7 feet in my head.
For sure.
So I say all that to say I'm the type of person, if I'm asking a question, I want to know, well, where you learn? Where you got the answer?
Yeah.
How you know?
Yeah.
And so in this instance, with none of us being the authority, like none of us were there. And that's what's so crazy about, these people picketing and saying, God hates gays and, all this damnation. You have no heaven nor hell. You ain't been there.
Like, you ain't saying
like you a bouncer, and that you're condemning people to. So going back to that authority and what your statement as far as and heavy on the spiritual. And one thing that I've been sitting in and really meditating on lately is intuition. And thinking about intuition for the last couple of weeks, that unsaid, unspoken, you just feel it, you just know it. A lot of times we say something told me, my mind told me. That intuition is so important in this journey, where we know when we come across something and we like, I don't need to be here.
That don't feel right. It's instinct.
Yeah.
It don't just gel with you the best it could gel.
These not my people. It just, I can't, I'm not saying, I just know. I just know. And so going to adopting and what you were talking about, looking at others, one of the things that kept standing out to me as you were talking was the word exposure. Like, I think that's critical. I think that's crucial. Whereas I think in some traditional conservative religious circles, only this, nothing else. I just finished watching this documentary on what is it? The Duggars?
What is that on?
Prime. I think it was on Prime. Could have been Hulu. Girl, TV, iPad. You remember the family. They had like 17 kids, 18 kids. Like, show, you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Remember what happened with the son? So it's called, I think, Shiny Happy People, something like that, the documentary. And so they were a fundamentalist family, Christian.
Mm-hmm.
And in this documentary, it does a deeper dive into what they believed, and one of the things that they believed, and it was so interesting, just the, what's the word, hypocrisy of this family that we know because they had a whole TV show on TLC.
Yeah, documenting everything, yeah.
Forbid watching television, listening to the radio, because they didn't want those influences. They didn't want that. What was the word I used? Exposure. Like if you edit in, this is where you put the word exposure. Put it in my hand. Exposure. They didn't want that exposure. And so when we think about even going back to enslavement, they didn't want us to learn how to read. Why was that illegal? They didn't want us to be exposed. And so one thing that I've adopted in just my spiritual journey in my life, I'll try almost anything once.
I say 3 times. It was specifically for food. 3 times. I'm like, just try it. Just try it. Have you tried it? You ain't never tried it?
That's it. Give it a shot.
Just try it.
Now, some things I ain't fooling with. What we say earlier, what I look like messing with, like sometimes,
I mean, if it's like a ghost pepper or something like that, I don't need to try that. I've seen it. I get it. But no, I get it. Exposure. I feel like that's the only way I really survived.
You said it when you moved. Like when I moved, things opened up. Yeah. Like when you moved, and I saw a stat years ago, but it was talking about the average person not moving without outside of a 25-mile radius of where they were raised.
That's dangerous. That's dangerous. And I feel like the only way to combat that is if you travel all the time. Like your own base, maybe, wherever you were raised. And if you travel all the time, you can really meet people, et cetera, and figure out that things really do exist. That this might be wrong.
Yeah. There's more.
Yeah.
Or maybe your money is funny, your change is strange. Have a conversation with someone that doesn't look like you.
Mm-hmm.
Engage with others. And I think that's one of the things that impedes progress when we don't engage with others, when we don't collaborate.
Let me say this. Engage with others and not engage trying to change. And get them on your side. Because I feel like a lot of times people will be like, oh, talk to people all the time. And it's just like, yeah, but you got a whole agenda or something. You're trying to get them on board. So it's just like, to your point, talk to them, figure it out, have an exchange, but don't make it to where you are the authority in this conversation and you already think they just wrong. It's 2 left shoes.
That part. And nothing will be accomplished. Like the only things realistically that we are authorities on are ourselves.
Like most people barely figure that.
Barely. Yeah. Barely. So I absolutely agree. We had this whole thing at work, a town hall for Pride. And one of they were asking for, well, what does allyship look like? And what are some tips and best practices for being supportive? And one of the things that someone said was they were talking about having conversations. And I want to get it right. How did he say it? Ultimately, he was saying exactly opposite of what you were saying, meaning be open to those conversations and having those that may be where you are. That's not where I am. Where trying to convince or persuade.
Yeah. Listen, I got a friend. I always tell her she the ally that nobody ever asked for. She stay going to bat for the gay folk. I mean, stay going. And I'm like, good for you. And thank you for one time, and that's it. Because I will not do. I'm not going to explain.
Yep.
Like, I'm not going to explain. If you come up, trying to convince me otherwise, I don't have it. As long as you
works for some people.
It's well, let me tell you, to your point, pointless. I feel like I'm leaning. Let me talk about that pointless. Some people have decided that that's their whole personality. Kind of like 8.5 by 11s deciding that their whole personality is drinking wine. It's okay, live, laugh, love, drink wine.
It's 1 o'clock.
That's your whole personality. Some people have decided that's them, and if you take that away from them, they're gone.
Yeah.
Those are the people that you don't have a conversation with, because at some point you're uprooting who they are as a person, and it's just never going to work. That's something they got to work on their own. If they
it's a
want
journey,
to.
like the journeys for both sides, because they come around, you never know.
Yeah, that's what I said. If they want to, but some conversations are not necessarily meant to be had when they're like that. But if you come to me asking something regular, now I will be honest with you. If you ask me something blatantly stupid, you might get a wild answer. You know what I'm saying? I'm still on my journey.
As we are, like,
as you open up, you'll see that people think totally different. They're on totally, and it's not necessarily.
If you're wise and mature enough, that's the piece. Like I think that's what we're encountering now, especially in politics, where the sky is blue, the sky is blue, the sky is blue. Well, look over here.
Yeah,
it's actually orange. You ain't see what it's like because that sunset. Explain that to me.
Yeah.
And that's the only perspective that they will allow or permit. Mm-hmm. And folk like that, I zip zilch nada. No, like I have absolutely no time. No, like So it really is a journey, because there are those that are committed to not hearing and not being receptive and not, and just not. Like, that's like, and okay, bet.
Yeah. Just stay over there. I'm gonna stay over here. Yeah. I get that. I feel like I could talk about this idea of religion and Black people in space and Black church journeys and stuff.
There's a mass exodus. Like there's a mass exodus, and it's not, and it's generational. Like it's hidden Gen Z, millennials, boomers, a mass exodus.
But let me say this. I feel like everybody understands the mass exodus, those people that are exiting.
Mm-hmm.
Then you got this other side that's like, well what?
Yeah.
But it reminds me of the episode of the Boondocks. This is a long time ago. When they were protesting and they were going downtown or something like that, and Granddad left to go get his raincoat. And by the time he got back to the protest, they was done with the protest, but they got hosed by the dogs. Hosed and attacked by dogs and stuff. This is all in the Boondocks. It's ridiculous. And Granddad came back and was like, "Oh man, did I miss it? They did the thing with the dogs and the hoses," and like everybody was mad at Granddad. Where you been? We a Granddad. Like y'all ain't see the whole thing that was happening, because we gonna leave, and we gonna leave y'all to it. And I don't know if, as much as I like Black church, I don't know if there's a way to get people back in it. And specifically, I said Black church. I didn't say Christianity. I didn't say
Black church. Absolutely.
I love churchy Black faith. And to a point, we need it because we need like congregation and stuff like that. But I don't know if it's any getting back, but I do understand leaving and keeping a safe space for yourself. And I think not being subjected to certain things.
That part, like that part, the misogyny, the patriarchy. Like that's the. Yeah, that was a little 30-minute episode, honey. But my goodness, not as is.
Yeah,
not as is. I do absolutely yearn for an intentional community. I think as beings, we're created to be in community, and so you were talking earlier about how do people get back on their journey, and I think there's a God-sized hole. Like there's a it we look for him, he'll find us. We don't look for him, he'll find us.
Yeah.
And I think the Black church as is has absolutely, and some are.
I mean, I ain't gonna name no names, but I'm all right with my church. Like,
yeah,
yours is
a good one. Yours is a good one. Yours is a good one. Now, let me ask you this, because so for a season, I was at a affirming church, a Black affirming church that had 2 male pastors, husbands, and be your full self. So it was a new experience.
Wow,
honey.
Okay.
My challenge with that was, as I mentioned, I didn't grow up in the church, and it was very churchy in the sense it was just gay church, like the ritual, and it's like, wait, why are we doing this? And then not to mention, service was knocking on 4 hours. That's a shift.
What? The audacity of them to be so different and then try to keep you in church all day long. Okay, so then what you mean?
It was, because it was a very traditional church, just gay. Like that was it. And so I appreciate the freedom, the acknowledgement. Simultaneously, so you were free here, but you in bondage here.
Yeah. Oh, that's deep.
So I think overall, the Black church, because we do need to be in community. Like there's some, we were talking about, earlier, when you know, like there are certain things that, and even thinking about the role of the Black church throughout history and how it's been a pivotal piece of us overcoming. We need it, being able to sustain. The Black church has to absolutely do some serious, and I don't even want to say an assessment. Like y'all needed to have done that.
Yeah, you behind the Black church for me. One, I do believe on your journey, find a safe space. People, they say, well, 1 or 2 will gather. You know what I'm saying? People, church, whatever. But I understand when you say y'all should have been done this. I sit and listen to like churchy things happening and not teaching like financial success and providing like health benefits and like different things like that. I'm like, we are so behind the curve. Like that confuses me. Talk about gays, God, that confuses me.
That mind-boggling. So having not grown up in the church, but going into ministry and seeing that side of it, like for real, like these are basic principles.
But you know what it boils down to again? The exposure. And I think that Black church.
My mama did it like that. My mama's mama did it like that. My daddy did it like this. My daddy's daddy did it like this. Mind you, it was a different time. A different climate. Like, amen. And we still doing it.
I think that we haven't taken advantage of all that we can in church. And I guess, it boils down to your individual journey, taking that exposure, being tapped in, figuring that out. And also, if we wanted to dump it on the church, also the church needs to be exposing themselves, taking advantage, and they need to be on their own journey. And I think they're severely behind in the race. And that's why you see a lot of people leaving, because no one wants to be in the firing squad.
If they're going to be who they say they are, like if you're really going to be in the community and be in people's lives who you say you are, you have to abandon this. You have to abandon what we did, because true, it worked, but backs were broken. Like backs were broken. Like it wasn't right. We got through. Like as a people, we overcome. But no. You can't do that. You can't put diesel in this.
Yeah, it's a new playbook.
Yeah.
It's a new playbook.
Yeah.
And maybe that's what it boils down to. So maybe the confusion can kind of be dampered. And it's just understanding that sometimes there will be a new playbook. There are multiple chapters to your story.
Yes.
It is a journey.
Yes.
And just really tap in.
Yes.
Which is
still being responsive, right? Like it's not being rote and just doing as is, but I'm being truly responsive, responding to the times, because there is still a need for the church, period.
Yes. And I still
need a place.
Think we don't see that. Two things can be true at once. You can leave and be like, I wish y'all was what we needed. Yeah. But you know, we'll watch from afar, and then maybe we'll come back once we've seen what we need to see. But it's a need, and it sucks. Let me say this: it sucks from a preacher's kid perspective or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And a person that likes churchy things, I like stuff.
It's a whole culture.
Yes.
Yeah.
And to me, let it up.
What happened?
It's okay. It's a whole culture, and to give it up is
exactly
unfortunate.
Or even just the access. Like I keep going back to community, because that's something that I am actively in search of right now. Community. I just know, going back to intuition, I know this ain't it. And I would be unfair to myself to subjugate myself to this.
Yeah.
And it works for y'all. That's good. But as for me in my house,
it just,
and I absolutely think it's important that
I get it. It's a lot. I think talking about God and religion, spirituality, and then they call it the third place, somewhere you can go outside of like work and home. And I feel like church is one of those third places or whatever. It can all be very confusing and very layered. And at the end of the day, prioritizing yourself is going to be the thing. Because I feel like if you focus on self, you're tapped in. To your point, God will find you, even if you don't search for him. Even if you're just looking inside yourself, God is within, right? You.
It's a big topic, and it's something that, and I appreciate the conversation, and I appreciate you even bringing it to light, because it's like, we really not talking about this, like the minister of music, y'all, really?
No, like
we really not going to, and it was so crazy, again, not being raised in the church, and then to see and learn how badly that homosexuality, those with alternative lifestyles, are talked about. But you'll take these gifts. You're going to use them.
Yeah.
But you can't sit in my tape.
It's crazy.
It's
well, okay, you're right. And I'll say this, like, I thought, and I usually think multiple times, when I see foolish stuff happen, I'll think this a lot. I'll be like, folk on the outside looking in gotta think Christians are just crazy.
Oh, yeah.
Dead, loony. Like,
what? Think about this commercial. Who gonna sign up for that? What is the healing about it? What is the healing?
You know, I often
Condemnation, judgment.
It's wild. And these are the people that you're supposed to be. I often categorize people and I'd be like, those Christians. Because I'm like, don't associate me. That's not like none of that.
Absolutely.
Yeah. It's wild. Okay, we could go on and on, but I actually have to wrap it up some way, somehow. I appreciate you a lot. We could talk on, and I think I'm gonna get a big group of people together just to talk about churchy stuff. I just want to be outlandish and over the top, because that's the world I live in. So I appreciate you. Tell people how they can find you or all that good stuff.
Oh, are we still podcasting? Yeah, I done got real comfortable. I thought we was just talking. The internet. I don't know.
It's a good place for it.
What's my stuff? Kia Keeps Up and Nevertheless Movement.
Yes, Kia Keeps Up and the Nevertheless Movement.
As usual, don't forget to check out this episode's playlist on Spotify or YouTube by clicking the link in the bio.